there's 3 primary types of estrogens. It's estrone, estradiol, and estriol. Now, that could get into a whole long lecture on its own, and I don't think that's really necessary. But just to kind of have that understanding, those are the 3 dominant ones. And depending on where you are in your life and your ratio, it could either be the best thing for you or the worst thing for you. As an example, if you're a 13-year-old girl, estradiol could be a really powerful growth hormone, right? That's around that age when things change. For a guy, that's when your testosterone starts to go boom. Your growth hormones like boom, right? Things start to change. Now, if you're a 50 or 60-year-old woman and estradiol is way up here and progesterone's like here, that growth hormone could start growing or anabolizing certain cells out of control. Like a metastasizing breast.
Cancer.
Right. Exactly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How that distinction is like, that's a very delicate area, right? So in a man, for example, the way that affects a man is benign prostate enlargement. Right? And that's a whole long rant I have on that one. Because when I started to really look into what was behind prostate cancer and prostate enlargement, one thing I do remember growing up hearing was that too much testosterone causes prostate enlargement. And then I started talking to a number of physicians as I got interested in this area, one of which who is one of the world's leading physicians. His name's Dr. Roy Dittman. He actually wrote a testimonial on the back of my book. He's one of the leading physicians on pregnancy, child development, and detoxification for pregnancy. And him and me were talking one time, and he was saying that actually what's behind that is it's the wrong kind of testosterone. It's something called DHT. Has anyone heard this?
Yeah.
It's dihydrotestosterone. So when they do the testing, there has to be a distinction. There's free testosterone, and then there's this other thing which is a metabolite or a kind of like a branch off of testosterone metabolism in the body. It kind of breaks off, and that's DHT. Now, what's interesting to me about DHT is that it doesn't convert into estrogen or estradiol. For some reason, it just stays put. But free testosterone, which is what you want, in the wrong ratio, will convert over into estradiol. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just what I said. Okay, so that DHT, if this conversion happens, it's called aromatization. What happens is once that free testosterone has just kind of converted over into this estrogen metabolite, that DHT is left to do its thing. It's out of balance.
It's like
right? It's just by itself. It's like, okay, great, I can do,
damage.
free to, do whatever. Now, we're all aware of menopause, right? That time in a woman's life when things really change, right? It's basically defined as the completion of your fertility cycle, right? Post-menopause. Well, there's also something called andropause. Now, our society likes to call that a midlife crisis. You can't believe the comedy that I endured when I actually made that correlation. I don't know about anyone else, but I actually got a good laugh out of that. Then I was like, man, we need to start talking about this, how it really is. So the midlife crisis where a man is just kind of like, pictorially is just kind of like, trying to regain their youth or whatever that is. That's not what we thought it was. That's actually andropause, where the major hormones start to tank out.
Yeah.
And you start to get confused, and you start to like, oh man, what's wrong? I don't feel the same way I did when I was 20 or 30. Well, no, you don't. Because now, the estrogens are starting to overdominate. And the reasons for that. The main one, in my opinion, across the board is what's called xenoestrogens. And xenoestrogens are basically synthetic chemicals that create estrogen mimicking effects in the body. So they basically mimic estrogen in the body. and the main one above them all is plastic. Now that should raise some eyebrows right there. You think like, okay, wait, over the last 70 years, we've dumped an uncalculatable amount of xenoestrogens into the environment.